Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Worth Old Coin Value, your home for discovering the hidden treasures hiding in your pocket change. You never know when the next coin you touch could be worth a fortune. Now, picture this coin 1940 Canada 1 cent coin. The world is at war. Canada, like many other nations, is standing strong. Its factories roaring, its young men heading overseas, and every piece of metal counts. During this time, even something as small as a penny carried weight, not just in copper, but in national pride. The coin we're talking about today, the 1942 Canadian 1 cent coin, may look ordinary at first glance. But within its small circle of metal lies a piece of history that has grown into one of the most extraordinary stories in the world of coin collecting. Most of us grew up with these little brown pennies jingling in our pockets. They were the sound of allowance money, the sight of a coin on the sidewalk that brought a smile to a child's face. But few people realize that some of these humble coins have turned into treasures beyond imagination. The 1942 Canada 1 cent coin comes from a time when copper was scarce. The government needed every ounce of it for ammunition, wiring, and machinery to support the war effort. Yet, despite this shortage, the Royal Canadian Mint continued producing these copper pennies. Each coin carried the portrait of King George VI on one side and the familiar maple leaf design on the other, a simple image that spoke of resilience and hope. Now, here's where things get fascinating. In 1942, the Mint experimented with different metals. Some coins were struck using leftover bronze planchets, while a few rare pieces were struck with experimental materials. Over time, these variations created a mystery for collectors. Some coins looked slightly different in tone or texture, and a few even had minute minting errors. What was once considered just another penny suddenly became a key to uncovering Canada's wartime history. Imagine holding one of those coins in your hand today. It's not just metal, it's memory, a symbol of a nation enduring one of the toughest times in history. And that's exactly what draws collectors and historians alike to these small relics. They remind us of sacrifice, perseverance, and the everyday lives of Canadians who lived through the war. Many collectors today search tirelessly for the 1942 penny with unique traits, double-die markings, off-center strikes, or unusual coloring caused by the Mint's wartime experimentation. Most of these coins are worth a few dollars, maybe even a few hundred in perfect condition. But every now and then, a discovery shakes the entire numismatic world. That a few years ago, one of these 1942 Canada 1 cent coins turned up in pristine, almost untouched condition. Experts were stunned, not only by its near-perfect strike and preservation, but also by the fact that it showed subtle differences from the regular minting batch. Its features were crisp, its color deep and uniform, and its edges flawless. It wasn't just another penny. It was a masterpiece born from a time of chaos. Collectors across North America began to bid furiously for this coin. Auctions were held, offers flew back and forth, and the coin became the center of headlines. And when the final gavel came down, the price stunned everyone. This simple copper coin, once worth a single cent, had just been sold for an unbelievable $2 million. $2 million, for a coin that most people would have passed by without a second thought. It's hard to wrap your head around, isn't it? But that's the magic of history. Sometimes, the smallest things forgotten in drawers, hidden in jars, or tucked away in old collections can turn out to be priceless treasures. The next time you come across an old penny, take a closer look. Check the year, feel the texture, study the color. Because behind every coin lies a story, sometimes of kings and wars, sometimes of mistakes and miracles, and sometimes, if you're lucky, of a fortune waiting to be discovered. Collectors often say that coins talk, if only you know how to listen. The 1942 Canadian 1 cent coin whispers tales of the men and women who held it, of the factory workers who pressed it, of a country that kept moving forward through uncertainty. It's a small reminder that value doesn't always come from gold or silver. It comes from meaning, rarity, and the history a coin carries in its heart. For those who grew up during the era when pennies still jingled in every pocket, this story hits home. It's a link to a time when money was tangible, when saving coins in a jar was a habit, and when every cent mattered. To think that one of those very coins could now be worth $2 million. It's the kind of story that makes you look back through your old boxes and wonder what forgotten pieces of history might still be hiding there. So, if you got an old penny collection lying somewhere, maybe it's time to dust it off. Who knows? You might just find a 1942 treasure waiting to change your life. This coin, 1944 Canada, 1-cent coin. At first glance, it looks like just another old penny. But what if I told you that this humble little coin could be worth up to $3 million today? Stay with me, because the history behind it will take you straight back to the heart of World War II. It's the year 1944. The world is at war. Every factory, every smelter, every ounce of metal is devoted to the war effort. In Canada, even the minting of coins is influenced by the global chaos. The Royal Canadian Mint, located in Ottawa, is working tirelessly to produce currency for a nation that's holding strong beside its allies. And among all those wartime coins, a small number of 1-cent pieces were struck that year, simple, brown, and made of bronze. But there's more to them than meets the eye. The 1944 Canadian cent carries the familiar image of King George VI on the obverse, the father of Queen Elizabeth II. On the reverse, the classic twin maple leaves, a proud symbol of Canada's strength and endurance. Yet, in this year, something extraordinary happened. A few coins came out of the mint with unusual characteristics, errors, anomalies, and subtle differences that turned them into hidden gems for collectors decades later. Now, you might ask, what makes a coin like this special? After all, millions were minted. Well, the answer lies in how history left its fingerprints on it. During wartime, the mint reused old dyes, recycled metals, and sometimes mixed metals from previous years. Some coins struck in 1944 were created with slightly different alloys or had misaligned designs. A few even display ghost doubling of the king's portrait, a faint shadow image that collectors now hunt for. And that's where rarity is born, from the tiny imperfections no one noticed back then. Imagine an ordinary Canadian soldier returning home after the war, dropping one of these pennies into his pocket. To him, it was just a coin worth a single cent. But that very coin might now rest in a collector's vault, insured for a fortune. That's the magic of numismatics. It turns everyday change into timeless history. Over the decades, the 1944 Canadian penny became a quiet favorite among old-school collectors. It's a coin from a proud era when Canada's people were united by sacrifice and resilience. Many of those coins circulated through generations, tucked away in drawers, boxes, and coffee tins. If you grew up in the 1950s or 60s, there's a good chance you saw one of these in your father's or grandfather's collection. The shine might be gone, but the story it tells remains priceless. But what if I told you that one particular 1944 Canada 1-cent coin shattered every expectation? In recent years, collectors discovered an ultra-rare variant, believed to have been struck with a U.S. planchet or a transitional metal composition. Only a handful are known to exist, and when one of these coins surfaced at auction, it sparked a bidding war like no other. Numismatists and investors from around the world locked in, each desperate to own a piece of Canadian minting history. The bids climbed higher and higher, as if history itself were being rewritten before their eyes. When the hammer finally dropped, that tiny penny, a coin once used to buy candy or a newspaper, was sold for an astonishing $3 million. $3 million for 1 cent. A moment that reminded everyone why the world of coin collecting never loses its thrill. Now, before you start digging through your change jar, remember this: condition is everything. A 1944 Canadian penny in average circulation might only be worth a few cents. But one in pristine, mint condition, especially if it has unique die marks or metallic variations, can fetch thousands. And that one in a million example, the legendary error coin, is what dreams are made of. For men who grew up when a penny still mattered, this story hits home. These coins aren't just money. They're pieces of the past, symbols of craftsmanship, endurance, and the pride of the nation at war. Each one carries the echo of the era it was born in, from the clang of minting machines in Ottawa to the hopeful pockets of returning soldiers. So next time you come across a dusty old coin box or a forgotten jar of pennies in your home or garage, take a moment. Hold one of those old copper coins up to the light. Look for the year this coin 1944 Canada coin history. We are about to uncover a coin that looks small and ordinary, yet holds a story. This coin Canada 1 cent 1939 that connects to one of the proudest moments in Canada's history. And by the end of this video, you'll see why one of these tiny copper pieces could be worth as much as $2.5 million. Now, picture this. The year is 1939. The world stands on the edge of a storm. Europe is preparing for war, but in Canada, the spirit of unity and hope still burns bright. It's the year King George VI, along with Queen Elizabeth, visit Canada, the very first reigning British monarchs to ever step on Canadian soil. This wasn't just a royal visit. It was a symbol of pride, of Canada's growing identity, and of its people standing strong on the global stage. In that same year, tucked away in the Royal Canadian Mint, a coin was being struck that would become a silent witness to that era. The 1939 Canadian 1 cent coin. A simple copper coin, just a penny, but one that carried the face of a king and the maple leaf, Canada's proud emblem. To most people, it was just a penny in their change. But to collectors today, it's a time capsule of history. Now, this coin wasn't made in huge numbers like many other pennies of the time. Just over 21 million were minted, but not all of them survived the war years or the decades that followed. Many were melted down, others lost, and only a rare few have remained in pristine condition. And it's those survivors, untouched, uncirculated, flawless pieces, that have become the holy grail for collectors around the world. What makes the 1939 penny truly fascinating isn't just its age, but the story etched on its face. On one side, you have the young portrait of King George VI, the father of Queen Elizabeth II, engraved with calm dignity. On the other side, 2 maple leaves on a single twig, a symbol of Canada's unity. Think about that for a moment. 2 leaves, 1 stem. In 1939, it was a message of togetherness in uncertain times. Today, it's a reminder of a nation that stood firm through history's storms. Old coins like this don't just carry metal. They carry memory. Imagine the hands that passed that penny. Maybe a soldier buying his last letter stamp before heading overseas, or a farmer buying a nail for his barn, or a young boy saving it in a jar dreaming of a better future. Each coin has its own untold story, and that's what makes this hobby so special for many of us who grew up seeing these coins in circulation. Now, among collectors, the value of a 1939 Canadian cent depends on its condition, its rarity, and sometimes the tiniest details, a minting mark, a flaw in the die, or even how the light reflects off its surface. A circulated one, the kind you might find in an old jar or tucked away in a drawer, might fetch only a few dollars. But if it's in mint condition, untouched by time, it could be worth hundreds or thousands. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. A very rare 1939 Canadian cent, preserved in perfect condition and verified by professional graders, was recently valued at an astonishing $2.5 million. That's right, a single penny smaller than your thumb, worth more than most houses. The reason? Its near-perfect strike, untouched luster, and historical significance tied to the royal visit of that year. It's not just a coin. It's a relic of a defining moment in Canadian history. When collectors talk about treasures, they're not always talking about gold or diamonds. Sometimes it's the smallest things, a coin that sat quietly in a drawer for generations, that turned out to be worth a fortune. And if you grew up in Canada or ever visited in the mid-20th century, there's a good chance you've handled a 1939 penny yourself. Who knows? Maybe it slipped into your pocket once. Maybe it's still hiding somewhere in your family's old coin jar. That's what makes coin collecting so magical. It's not just about money. It's about rediscovering history. It's about holding a piece of the past that connects us to the people and the events that shaped our world. Each coin tells a story. In this coin 1939 Canadian coin history 1 cent coin tells one of pride, resilience, and legacy. So, before you toss that old coin collection aside or think it's just pocket change, take a closer look. You might be holding a piece of history worth more than you ever imagined. And who knows, maybe the next coin you find could be that $1,000,000 discovery. Thanks for watching Worth Old Coin Value. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the forgotten wealth of history. Because sometimes the smallest coin can hold the greatest fortune. And in the case of the 1939 Canadian 1 cent coin, that fortune can be as high as $2.5 million.